Hey everybody, GT Cam here coming at you once again. So after comparing Gearwrench and Quinn the other day, I decided I wanted to compare Gearwrench to Icon because I think there's a little more similarity there. That said, I grabbed a 7mm of each because that was the smallest I had in the Gearwrench, and then a 10mm of each because, let's face it, we pretty much run on 10mm. Well, when we can find them. I wonder if they're stolen by the underwear gnomes. Anyway, continuing on. So the first one up, we got the Gearwrench here, 10mm. Overall length is 2.953 to 2.952 there, versus the Icon at 2.05. So the Icon's just a little bit longer. They're both shallow broach. Makes me wonder. Not the most accurate way to accomplish this, but it's what I have to work with. So, humor me. So our depth there is about 343 for the Icon versus about, looks like about 273 thou. So the broach of the Gearwrench is a little bit shallower than the Icon. Now, diameter wise, the Icon comes in at 542 thou, where the Gearwrench comes in at, holy cow, 577 thou. Oh, excuse me, that was a shadow. 575 thou. So right off the get-go, the Gearwrench is a little bit meatier, and you can even see it in the wall there. I don't know if the camera is going to pick this up very well. Yeah, you can see just ever so slightly. There's a little bit more meat in that Gearwrench. That said, the broach dimension itself, we're at basically 400. We're about 400 thou even on the Icon. And for the Gearwrench, we're basically 400 thou as well. So the broach is going to be very much dimensionally the same. The depth is going to be deeper on the Gearwrench. I don't think it's enough to make a difference between the two, quite honestly. Let's look at the bases here. Yeah, you can even see how much smaller the base is on the freaking Icon here. It's, let's see here. Trying not to get, hard to get on it with the, yeah, 515 versus, yeah, about 555, I think. Sorry for being a little off camera there. The base broach is very similar between them. The radius is a little different in the corners, but not too significant. Now, let's look at the 7mm. Let's first look at this OD, the Icon. There's something I wanted to illustrate with this here, and it may not make a difference for most, but I think for some of us, the Icon may be worth it. We're at about 412 thou OD on the Icon, and about 424 thou, 423 thou on the Gearwrench. Again, we got a smaller diameter on the Icon. Let's see here. Overall length on the 7mm, 1.943. Get that up here where you guys can see it. Sorry, I'm not doing a very good job. There's a freaking arm sticking in my ear over here for tilting this tripod. And 2.003, 2.004 versus the Gearwrench's 1.940. So you got about 60 thou more length on the icon. The part that really stands out to me is different between these two, and I think for some of us this is where it's going to make a difference. So we already know that we got a smaller diameter on the icon than we do the Gearwrench. Now this is where we're going to see the significant difference. Notice the reduced diameter length on the icon versus the Gearwrench over here on your right. So if you got a deep reach and you got minimal clearance, you're gonna have a better chance of getting on it with that icon. But it probably doesn't matter for a lot of people, just those of us that are a little pedantic about it. Yeah, so it's worth kind of knowing that, just in case. For most people, again, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. The Gearwrench would be just fine. But for some of us, the icon's going to be a better option. And if you're in a position where you're trying to substitute icon for your Snap-on, maybe until you're trying to get to it, or try to afford it rather, then perhaps the icon is going to be a better move for you. But if you're just a weekender that doesn't really have to worry about it, the Gearwrench is probably going to be fine. It's really kind of what it comes down to. Which one do you want? You can see somehow I've ended up with both, because apparently some people smoke crack. I have a tool habit, apparently. Well, and then there's this shit too. But anyway, yes, it's after midnight and I'm drinking Red Bull. Take that for what it's worth. Anyway, so long story short, pick your poison here. I'm not going to tell you which one. I'm just going to say that dimensionally, the icons tend to be really close to the Snap-ons. The Gearwrenches aren't. One thing I will say in Gearwrench's favor, not necessarily over icon, but over most other stuff out there, including Quinn. This is where I will put Gearwrench's sockets ahead of Quinn just about every time, because of that shallow broach. And that's really what it comes down to. If you just need some cheap sockets to throw in a toolkit, by all means you can grab some Quinns, throw them in a bag on some sort of little socket holder and go. You could do the same thing with the Gearwrench, but yeah, it's probably more convenient to stop somewhere and grab the sockets from Harbor Freight than it is, maybe, unless you're one of those people like me that's like, I work too much, let's just order it on Amazon, it'll show up whenever. So on that note, that's what I've got for you tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed. Have a good night. GT Cam out.